Hello, Jordan Dominique here with another video. Today's video was inspired by, I'll say, many conversations that I've had over the course of the past year and a half, maybe even 2 or 3 years. It's something that is a far-reaching dilemma. I won't say issue, I will say dilemma, because, well, it's quite perplexing. So let's get right into it. Today's subject of the video is going to be on expertise, lack thereof, and how to have conversations about subject matters that you may not necessarily be an expert on. In life, the importance of having thoughts, feelings, and opinions on things obviously is important. As ideologies begin to fractal and become more and more unique in their own ways, we have different belief systems, different levels of experience and expertise in many different fields. The way you believe in something is influenced partially by fact, but it can also be influenced by many other factors, some accurate, some inaccurate, some legitimate, some illegitimate, that add up to why you think or feel the way that you do on a certain topic. And that's normal. That's natural. As a consumer, or as a customer, or as a client, or as a patient, as human beings, we rely on experts of their respective fields to fulfill the duty of said field. And that's awesome. It's an amazing thing that we have experts in their craft who have years of experience, determination, and studies under their belt, helping to provide the services and functions and infrastructures of society that keep us running. Whether it be a doctor, like a surgeon or something like that, a therapist, hell, a plumber, electricians, all of them have their respective fields of expertise, and it's very amazing that they're there. And it's very amazing that they have this expertise so that they can not earn, but not garnish, but solidify our trust and solidify the confidence of society in said people in their roles. However, in these subjects and the way that legislation, politics, ideology in general moves, progresses, evolves, is usually not with the subject matter experts. It's usually with the general population. Either a need arises from the general population that we have to develop a field of expertise in order to fulfill the need, or for the needs that are already existent and we have expertise, we have to trust that the person who is coming to help us, the person who is coming to fix our refrigerator, our air conditioning, our vehicle, knows what they're doing. And that's awesome in a society where everything runs like a well-oiled machine. But I think that we know the truth of society here in the United States of America and generally in the world. The human nature aspect of society, that as much as we want everything to be cookie cutter perfection, more times than not, based off of necessity, we have to innovate, adapt, educate ourselves, and evolve to circumstances, conditions, and environments that are less than friendly and with less than professional level of expertise. Meaning that your refrigerator can be repaired by a refrigerator repairman as long as there are refrigerator repairmen and as long as you can afford one. Well, the first thing, fortunately, there's plenty of them, I would assume. But secondly, that is a growingly tighter constraint for everybody in the United States. Meaning that as the cost of goods and services associated with one job or the next, it's going to be increasingly difficult for the average person to be able to afford said expert of their field to come help them. As people understand that their expertise is more needed and increasingly more rare and hard to find, I think we know the laws of supply and demand. That has a tendency to make those services more expensive. So everybody does this equation in their head on how feasible it is to contact a professional to repair something versus weighing the options of just learning, going to YouTube University and doing whatever it is yourself, fixing your car, fixing your air conditioning and stuff like that. We weigh the options of which one is going to be more cost effective. Not because we necessarily have a choice all of the time. Sometimes we don't have a choice. Sometimes there is no money in the bank to go get the expert. We have to learn how to do things ourselves. Also, fortunately for where we are in society, we have many, many avenues to learn and pick up expertise on many different subjects and things like that, which helps us to basically teach ourselves to fish. Meaning, obviously, doing something so that you can continually gain a skill that repetitively is able to be used and you benefit from it. This is excellent for personal endeavors. But obviously, we get into sketchy water when a self-taught person, say an electrician, decides that he has now learned enough that he wants to, start doing his own contractual work, or, you know what I'm saying, being an electrician without certification. We as society have a problem with that, rightfully so. Going back to what I said previously about how you have to earn your certification in order to exercise your level of expertise legally. And that's cool. So the nature of certification, degrees, college education, things like this have become increasingly higher in demand as we have less and less trust for the next individual to come do work for us, to come repair our vehicle and stuff like that. The reason that we have less trust for professionals in their vocation is because we're less familiarized with them. You have to understand that back in the day, or if you go to a small town in middle America right now, the person who works at the mechanic shop is your neighbor, Bob. Bob works on cars. Bob was taught how to work on cars from Joe. Joe owned the shop before Bob took it over. Joe has lived in this neighborhood his entire life, and we went to school with his children. Bob has lived in the neighborhood his entire life, and our children went to school with him, and they grew up, they went off to college. Bob stayed around and is now fixing vehicles. My grocery store clerk is the child of my next door neighbor. My air conditioner man lives right up the street from me. The teacher of our community lives at the end of the block. Are you getting the theme of what I'm building here? When society was smaller, when we had less avenues of far-reaching ways to live and build communities, the tight-knit nature of society worked twofold: for familiarity, so that you were protected from the outside environments, but also as a layer of a trust system as to where nobody can screw you over, nobody can scam you, nobody can steal from you without you knowing and there being consequences for that. Because you know, and you tell everybody in the neighborhood, and now not only does nobody go to Bob's Auto Repair Shop anymore. Now that person cannot even walk around his neighborhood safely because you're a thief and a liar. And you deserve to be exposed for that. Population growth has gotten to a point where we cannot support current cities the way that they are structured in the same familiar nature. When you go to the grocery store, you do not know your grocery store clerk, more times than not. You don't know your electrician, your plumber, your auto mechanic on a first name basis regularly. I'm sure there are people who still operate in this way, but more times than not, it's not the case. That creates distrust in a society, rightfully so, because many times you can be screwed over with relative anonymity as to where you know the establishment that screwed you over, Bob's Mechanic Shop. But Bob's Mechanic Shop is a large franchise now with thousands of locations all over the United States, and the employees who work there, Bob's never even talked to them before, let alone seen them, and they've only been working there for less than a year. Basically, I'm saying nobody knows them. They go home, they leave their job, they go back to their neighborhood that may or may not even be in the same city in which they work, and they go live a relatively undisturbed, unknown life. And here you are left to deal with the whatever the after effects of a less than professional job is. I'll give you an example personally of something that I experienced that it's really not a big deal, but it shows a little bit about what I'm talking about. And I promise you, this is getting to a bigger point that we can all actually apply to our day-to-day basis. But let me set the pace, because it's really, I think it's necessary. I don't know, but it was like 2 or 3 months ago. I was headed to the park to go chill with somebody, and I happened to decide to fill up my air in my tire, which usually I'm kind of weary of doing on my own. As corny as that sounds, you would like to think that you're capable to put air in your own tire and stuff like that, which I like to think that I am as well. But have you just noticed how you just can't find a working air machine anywhere at any of these gas stations? I always go to Wawa first because they're free, and I like free things. But every time that I go to one, it's always out of order. Always. And that kind of feeds into what I'm talking about from a different angle, because when you give society something free, they just destroy it and then get mad at you because it's broken, because they don't actually care about things that they get that are free. And that's a different element of trusting the people around you. But bringing it back to what we're talking about here, I went to a 7-Eleven. It's off of, what was that, Ehrlich, to put the air in my tire. The air machine was broken, and it actually completely flattened my tire. And me, I'm a genius. So I was looking at my front tire like, hey, this looks like it's getting flatter. Hold on, let me try this on my other tire and see. So I flattened 2 of my tires. Totally glowing moment of genius. But I say all that to say that I went inside and let them know, hey, your machine out front, it's broken. And the clerk looks me in my face and says, oh yeah, that machine's broken. Yeah, you don't want to use that. To which I reply, okay, that's cool, but there was no sign out there that said it was broken. Why? Well, this person, I guess I wasn't trusting her level of expertise, and she might not have been trusting her own, because she had to call the manager, essentially. She gets the manager on the phone. She explains the situation about how, oh yeah. Like, there's there's nothing out there. There's no signage that says that the machine is broken. I hear them, they converse for a little while, blah, 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 blah. Basically, the clerk tells me that the manager said, the machine's broken. They were supposed to come and fix it earlier today, which they said that they did. So we removed the sign that was out there, a sign that I never saw produced, by the way. But they removed the so-called sign that was out there saying that it was broken when they were told that it was fixed from the people who came to repair the air machine. So I happened to be the lucky individual who pulled up after the thing was supposedly fixed, but not really, but just soon enough that the sign was removed, and had my tires flattened. When I explained all that to them and literally said, it really doesn't matter why the sign was removed. The fact is that the machine still doesn't work, and now I'm sitting out here unable to move from your parking lot with 2 flat tires. What are you going to do to resolve that? The person said, oh yeah, that's not a problem, essentially, such and such, so on and so forth. And the best thing that we can do is go ahead and refund you the $2 that you paid for the air. But actually, not refund me the $2. Provide me the phone number from the air company so that they can refund me the $2. That's cool. It's like 8 at night. It's like getting dark. I would just like to be mobile again more so than getting the $2 back. So I'm once again reiterating how I have 2 flat tires. They said that there wasn't anything that they could do for me. And that's, whatever, neither here nor there. Thought about flipping the whole store on its head, but I was like, no, let me behave myself. I'm going to contact their corporate people, and I'll deal with them accordingly from that angle, which I did, but that's not a part of this story, but I did. Basically, the end of this story ends with me calling my AAA people and getting my my air put in my tires and being on my happy merry way. But I brought that up to say that that was a twofold failure of expertise. I was supposed to trust these people at this 7-Eleven that when I used their air machine with no signage on it saying that it was out of order, that I was going to be able to use it, right? Also, they expected the person who came there who fixes air pump machines to be able to fix the air pump machine. Their job. 2 points of failure there. And who had to deal with that? The consumer. I'm not talking about it like, oh, the travesty, I deserve reparations for that. No. I bring that up because it very much falls into my next point. Why we don't trust people without expertise now. And it is degrading society because a part of upholding society, evolving, elevating, lifting people up into positions of professionality in their respective fields that they become experts on is by conversation, communication with society, the realization of a need to be fulfilled. And this all comes from different aspects of society and the shared experience that we have. I'm not the only person who has experienced something that has shaken my trust in so-called experts. So much so that when somebody comes and they are not a so-called expert, of course you're going to automatically be skeptical of them. Why would I even want this person to do something and they don't fully know what they're doing at a professional level and can screw things up? That's understandable at the service level. But this mentality has actually pervaded our culture conversationally, as to where now, obviously with social media, we have very open platforms to converse on many different topics that we may know everything to nothing about. And it's become a war zone. Oftentimes people are speaking about things that they know nothing about. And a lot of people want to silence those people who are talking about things that they just don't know about. They're not experts on. And when we review everything that I just went over anecdotally, we understand how that mentality has been bred. We've been screwed over and tricked and scammed way too many times to even trust the professionals, let alone little old Jeff over here who thinks that he knows something about abortion and why it should or shouldn't be legal. Everybody has an excuse as to why somebody isn't fit to tell them something or do something for them. As to where Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson literally answers the question, what is a woman, by saying that I'm not a biologist. Okay, that's perfectly fine. You're not a biologist. So you can't officially give an expert definition of what it is to be a woman from a biological sense. But there's also a legal sense of what it means to become a woman. There are laws that protect women. There are laws that if women break, they will experience different things than a man will. They're a protected class. Women are a protected class. How do we legally protect a class of individuals if we can't legally define those individuals? That becomes a problem. Even more so than at that capacity, any human being on this earth who speaks words out of their mouth should be able to define what a woman is. You don't have to be a biologist. And that's just a high level example of what we deal with. But you see it all the time in the conversations on social media, right? Insert topic here, politics. You speak your opinion on why Joe Biden is this, that, and the other, and these people speak their opinion on why Joe Biden is this, that, and the other to them. And everybody literally sits there and says, well, you don't know anything about politics. You're not a political expert. What do you even know? What do you know about any of these things? Economics. Yeah, capitalism. Yeah, socialism. Yeah, communism. And then we all go back and forth at each other. Well, you're not an economist. You don't know anything. Capitalism is messed up. Oh, what do you know about capitalism? What are you, some kind of communist or something like that? Oh, what do you know about communism? What are you a capitalist? What are you, a bootlicker? What's wrong with you? Oh, you don't know anything about what you're talking about. You're not a freaking economist. How do you know which economic system is the best for us? Let me tell you something. Economists don't tell us which economic system is the best one for us. They study us like little ant farms to try and get reasoning as to why certain economic systems perform the way that they do. You don't go to an economist to say, hey, communism or capitalism? They're going to say, but I can't tell you about what the elements of capitalism that hurt you and benefit you are and what the elements of communism that hurt you and benefit you are. And I can tell you societal examples of where both of them have failed and both of them have succeeded to certain degrees with certain elements and certain aspects. And that is a professional saying that. Well, maybe not. I don't know. I kind of got lost in what I was saying. It's either a professional or not. But my point is to say that anybody should be able to have these kind of conversations. And yeah, of course, you really shouldn't speak like you're 100% absolute about what you're talking about because you're just not. Unless you are. And then you would, of course, have factual or whatever evidence or statistics to back up what you're saying. But you should still be allowed to speak on these kind of things. Because in these conversations is how society moves the needle on things that we think and believe. Nobody should be excluded from these conversations just because of their level of knowledge on a topic. They should always be there, at least allowed to sit and listen, say something stupid out of their mouth, be corrected in a fashion that doesn't say, oh, don't you ever speak again, but actually encourages them to learn, correct themselves, and make improvements. That is how we can get to a better place conversationally as a society, and that's how we're going to be able to work on communication, and that's how we're going to be able to get to a place where we're going to come out of, basically, we're almost at civil war right now because of lack of communication. I see it every single day, at every single angle, lack of communication. At my job, I am an expert at my job. I'm an expert on insurance. I know the ins and outs of insurance policies when it comes to auto, when it comes to home. But that doesn't stop the clients that come onto my line of asking me if they can get somebody who's more knowledgeable about something than myself when I don't tell them something that they like to hear, that they want to hear. They want to talk to somebody else. They want to talk to who tells them the right words that they want to hear. I bring that up twofold to say that when we rely on experts, it's a great thing until we get to the point where we lose common knowledge and the experts are the only ones with even entry-level knowledge of their field of expertise. Because once you relinquish that level of freedom in the sense of being able to take care of yourself, freedom in the sense of I'm homesteading on the prairie and I have my wagon and I have my home, and if my wagon breaks, I know how to fix my wagon so that I can keep on wagoning. And if my home breaks, I can fix that so I can keep on homing and we can keep doing these things. But if the wagon man is the only person who knows how to fix the wagon, and nobody else knows how to fix the wagon man determines how much it costs to fix the wagon. And when nobody knows literally how much the parts or goods or services or anything about it, well, he literally gets to make the rules, and it really doesn't matter. Of course, it's going to go to what people can afford generally and stuff like that, because to stay in business, you have to set it at a level that people can generally afford. But in society right now, where there are wagons and people have such a huge disparity between different levels of wealth, it's very easy to go towards the wealthy people who have amassed so much money that they can pay the experts a healthy living, and those people can actually afford to do away with the business of the average individual and forsake them and the impoverished people. We're knocking on that door. You see it with housing. It's gotten to the level as to where the average person is so uneducated on real estate, housing, living, and finances that it's out of control. People who are fully aware of these systems and how they are used to take advantage of people can't do anything about it because of the level of stranglehold that the experts and the institutional investors or real estate companies have over the average person. How is the market value of your home determined if you're a homeowner? Chances are, if you're watching this video, chances are that you're not a homeowner, because more people aren't homeowners than are homeowners. But if you do happen to be one of the lucky ones, and I say lucky as in it's a fortunate thing to have a home, I'm not saying you only have the home because you're lucky. But if you are one of the homeowners, how is the market value of your home determined? You probably don't know. And not knowing that is a problem, because if nobody in your neighborhood knows how the market value of your neighborhood has come to be, who controls the market value of your neighborhood? What if you guys wanted to increase the market value of your neighborhood? You would have to know what are the factors in order to do that, right? And then you have to go to the professionals. But the professionals don't want you to increase the market value of your community, because that's going to mess with their business over here or over here. So it gets to a point where ignorance becomes incentivized, because the people who are in control of the company, the business, the expertise are also in control of the money, the finances that come behind it. And when you're ignorant, you're easier to take advantage of in these realms. So there really is an incentive to keep you ignorant and in the dark and uninformed about the services that are required of you. The real estate market is only one of these examples. That's why it's important for the average person to educate themselves on things beyond what is their profession. Meaning, I am an insurance representative. I still want to educate myself on stocks. I still want to educate myself on real estate. I still want to learn coding. I still want to do all of the things that are going to be important moving forward for myself, society, and humankind as a whole, because life is about more than just what lines your pocket. So I'm very thankful for the internet and all the information that we have to learn about any given topic. But I fear that that might come to an end, because freedom of speech as we know it is weaponized. I won't say it's under attack, but it is heavily weaponized in many different forms. It has been clearly established that there's an incentive to keep people ignorant and keep them stupid so that you can take advantage of them. And when we're talking about areas of expertise, unfortunately, we have given up the authority of information as an expertise to certain platforms and companies and media and journalists and Facebook. And those companies have taken the reins of their said field of expertise and now command them. Meaning that the average person cannot have a conversation with another average person and it just be okay on social media if one of them says something that goes against the algorithm or whatever it is that they, if you're spreading false information. This is something that, one moment. This is something that we see people get suspended for on social media all the time. And more often than not, it's not that. Oftentimes, I will say they aren't trying to actively mislead people, but their misinformation has been flagged or marked as such. And sometimes they get suspended because of it, not even knowing that what they were saying was misinformation, especially with the situation with the 2020 to 21, that little thing that we went through. I forget what it's called, but that thing. There was much scrutiny for people who were coming out with thoughts, feelings, even opinions on these kind of things, as to where people were being blocked from just speaking about something, even if they fully admitted that they were coming from a place where they're just talking about their own opinion. It becomes a problem. It also becomes a further problem when sites and articles are being fact checked and they're being told that it's not true. And when you actually go to fact check on why it's not true,